Hello everyone and welcome to my 10-minute opening series where I cover some opening ideas in Shogi in 10 minutes. So today I'm covering 4-5 pawn rapid engagement, and this is a static rook opening against ranging rook. It works against third file, fourth file, nakabisha, and mukaibisha. At least it's valid against all of them. I'm going to start with third file rook because that's where it kind of works the best, and the ideas behind the openings you can really understand how they work. So this is kind of a very standard static rook versus third file rook opening. And one of the characteristics, and the main one of this opening, is that we're going to actually jump the knight pretty early and keep the silver back on 4-8. Now, the idea of the opening is to attack the second file along with this bishop diagonal with the help of this pawn to 4-5 and this knight hitting the bishop. So basically, this is the combination and the kind of the flavor of attack that we're going for. So let's just take a quick look at some of the responses that third file rook can do here. So in this position, the most common moves that I see are silver 4-3, gold 5-2, and rook to 2-2. So really quickly, I'm going to cover rook to 2-2 first, because obviously this is not third file rook anymore. This is now mukaibisha. So I'm going to go over it pretty quickly. One option you have against this idea of moving the rook off the third file is to actually play it a little bit slower and do something like silver to 4-7. And our goal here is to get it to 5-4, castle our king, and then attack from there. So you might see something like this, And now our king is much safer, and this attack still exists. And the weakness of going and putting your rook on 2-2 is that now it's in the line of the bishop. So this is like still a pretty even game. You get this pawn to 4-5 attack. And this is actually quite common. I believe a lot of people are taught that the response to this pawn 4-5 is to move your rook over to the second file. The idea obviously being that the rook helps defend the second file. There's a bunch of lines here. I'm going to still go back and cover the third file lines. But if you want me to go deeper into the mukaibisha lines, drop me a note in the comments. So here, let's now cover the silver move to 4-3. Generally, I don't see this move that much. And the main reason why you don't see this move that much is that the silver defends the bishop. And people, generally speaking, don't want to give up that defense. So against this, we're going to attack right away. And when our opponent here, it's another option for our opponent to slide the rook over in this position as well. But the difference, obviously, than what we did before is that we've already committed the pawn to 4-5. So I'm going to quickly go and show a bit of an aggressive line here, which is we're going to go ahead and take the pawn on 4-4. And when the silver recaptures, we can actually then push on 2-4 and sack this pawn. And when the pawn recaptures, we do a classic tesuji called tsugifu. You could think about it as maybe like a next pawn or a connecting pawn, and we can drop the pawn to 2-5. Really quickly to show how the line can go, if your opponent takes this pawn, it's very bad for them. You can then take back with the knight, and you might think here that it's okay. Okay, he can just if we take the bishop, he gets to take the rook, so the knight is still pinned. And so you might say, okay, maybe I don't need to do anything, right? But actually, in this position, you have a really nice move, which is pawn drop 2-6. Now we're not pinned because we're defending the rook from the rook, but also this attack still exists, and the bishop can't run because this bishop is going to take the silver. So this is pretty much winning on the spot for Sente. So I think, yeah, the best move here is to do something like pawn 4-3. But yeah, you still get into a tricky situation here for Gote. It's still a relatively even game. And I'll be completely honest, I don't think I've ever had anybody drop pawn 4-3 against me in this position. And there's like a few different variations of how you can kind of get into this position with the rook on 2-2 and doing this tsugifu line. But it's definitely one to remember because generally speaking, people do end up taking that pawn. And yeah, this is definitely a line to remember because you'll get it pretty often. This one, very, very important move. Okay, so let's go back. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So that was the main variation I think that you get when people go silver to 4-3. And then the other main variation is gold to 5-2. So what this does is keeps the silver's influence on the 3-3 square and kind of finishes the Mino castle. So it's pretty solid response. But even against this, we can just go pawn to 4-5 immediately. When they recapture, now we can attack again on the second file. Recaptures. And here actually we start by trading bishops. So okay, there's some other ways that you can take, but if you take by the rook or the knight, then our rook is getting in on the second file. And the whole reason why we left the silver back here is so that we can recapture it with the silver. But actually we can immediately jump the knight here and attack the silver. Now, generally speaking, you don't want to do these types of moves. There's actually a shogi proverb that says knights that jump too high are good targets for pawns. And it's very true. And these types of moves can get you in trouble sometimes, but in this line, it's really good and works very well. So here you can think of a few different responses for Gote. The one that first looks pretty good is bishop on 5-5, forking the rook and the lance. But against this, actually, we have a really nice move, which is that we can just take the silver with the knight, and now we attack the rook. So if the opponent goes ahead and takes the rook, we can take back, and now this is a huge advantage for us. We basically just won the silver for free, and we were able to promote our knight. Same thing, you don't really want to take this way, because we're just going to take the the silver. Okay, so bishop drop doesn't quite work because of the knight takes silver move. So the next things that you think about are to move the silver out of the way. So the first one that comes to mind probably is silver to 4-4. It attacks the knight. But this isn't quite so good because now our rook gets in on the second file. Same thing with rook to 4-2. So what that means is the best move in this position is actually silver to 2-2. So now I've shown you a bunch of variations to get to kind of this main line where Gote is still kind of maintaining a decent position. I'm going to be completely honest with you, I play this opening a lot and I almost never get this position. So already I think a lot of people end up going wrong before this position. And that's, I'm playing mostly 2-dan, 3-dan, 4-dan. So, the even games that I get when I play this against third file rook, every once in a while I'll get this, and it'll be the moving the rook to the second file, Mukai Bisha line. But okay, this is considered the main line in third file, so I'll continue with this variation. And the best move in this position is to drop the bishop on 6-6. The idea in this position is you want the bishop on this diagonal. You're threatening a pawn drop here, and you're threatening to take the pawn on 2-4 and attack this silver. 6-6 is the best because, potentially in the future, it attacks the opponent's edge as well. So here the best move for the opponent is considered to be rook to 4-2, counter-attacking. But here you can just go ahead and take the pawn. And when your opponent drops a pawn on 2-3, this is a very important variation if you're going to play this opening. Because if you don't do it, then you actually end up getting into a slightly worse position. And the move here is to take the side pawn. And then when the opponent drops the pawn on 3-3, you don't retreat. You go ahead and offer the rook trade. Now here, they don't have a pawn to be able to block you. If they try and block with the gold, you're just going to win the game. Here, if they take this way, you can just take this way, and now the gold is under attack as well. So this would be really, really bad for Gote. So blocking with the gold doesn't work. So the best thing that they can do is actually to just take the rook with the rook. And when you recapture with the bishop, it seems fine. Okay, they just traded. Okay, there's some attack here that they need to deal with. And there's two main ways that you might see to do it. One is to drop a bishop here, defending here, attacking the lance. But it turns out that this isn't quite so good because you can just drop a pawn on 4-6, block it from taking the lance, and now this bishop kind of just looks stupid. And obviously if it goes here, we're going to be able to take on 5-3. So in this position, the best move is actually to drop a rook on 4-3. So already this is a move that people generally don't play, because it feels really bad, right? And even if the engine says it's the best move, it feels pretty bad to play it. And not only does it feel pretty bad to play it, there's actually a killer move here for Sente, which is to actually just sack the bishop immediately. And again, this is a very important variation that you need to know, because if you don't sack the bishop here, you're actually in a little bit of trouble. So, okay, like, this looks very good for Gote at first glance, but you have this rook drop, and once you get this rook drop here, you're in really great shape. So up until here, you basically traded a bishop and a knight for 1 gold, which is obviously a very bad trade. But we're going to get at least this silver back, and we're going to make a dragon in our opponent's territory, and we're probably going to be able to take these if we want to, and our opponent's rook is just staring at a pawn that's defended twice. And we have 4 generals in our castle, and our opponent only has 2. So this is actually a very, very nice, okay, probably not a winning position. I think Shogi gives us something like +3, but a very, very nice one, that even if the opponent knows kind of what they're doing, this kind of ends up being the best line, other than kind of swapping the rook over to the second file. So that's the pawn to 4-5 opening against third file rook. If you want to see me either do a same type of video against the fourth file rook variation, the Nakabisha variation, or the Mukaibisha variation, let me know in the comments below. Also, if you want me to dig deeper into any of these lines and do maybe a longer, fuller video, would also love to hear your thoughts on that as well. So thanks, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.